What if Deku was the son of Nana Shimura? How would this change the events in My Hero Academia? Let's get right into that. Now, Izuku would be born to his mother, Nana Shimura. Now, in order to make this work, as in the current canon of My Hero Academia, Nana Shimura is dead and is pretty much very old, older than All Might, who we know is around the age of 40 to 50. So we're going to age Nana down to around the age of 30, but let's say the event of where she fought All For One and supposedly died was just a cover-up to try to escape, as she was pregnant with Izuku. And since this was a cover-up to escape, she could raise her child in peace. Now, she would have already given All Might One For All before this fight, as she wanted One For All to keep on moving down the chain of generations, and so she can just raise her son without having the burden of knowing that the most powerful and easiest way to combat All For One, One For All, would have been inside her as her quirk, but yet she gave it to All Might before she even went to fight him, or fight All For One, knowing All Might was worthy and would become a great hero. And now, since Izuku is born, she takes Izuku out to the forest and mountains to live in a secluded area where she can just raise Izuku in peace. Now, Izuku would live a very happy life. I mean, he was just him and his mother, so how happy could it get? Sure, he didn't have friends, but he had the animals of the forest. This leads to Izuku getting a very strong bond with the forest and just loving nature in general. Now, when Izuku would turn of the age of 4, he and his mother would take the trip/journey into the city, which would be very risky for Nana, which she would have to dress up in a disguise. She would take Izuku to the hospital for quirk examinations, as she would get Izuku tested to see if he has a quirk. Now, of course, these test results would come back false, negative. He would not have a quirk, as he would be diagnosed as quirkless. Now, Izuku would have cried, as all he wanted to do was become a hero. Sure, he's been secluded from most of the things of the city. He practically has never seen a car before, but his mother still shows him and teaches him the ways of the hero, as she's scared of him becoming a villain, as she doesn't know if Izuku is going to take the right path, and she wanted to start him off early in training him. Now, most of you guys do know Shigaraki Tomura. Tomura Shigaraki is, I believe, Tenko Shimura, and basically, would this impact anything? Is Shigaraki still going to exist? Yes, he is going to exist. I'll explain that further when it becomes relevant. Now, Izuku, of course, crying because he doesn't have a quirk. However, the doctor would say Izuku still has a very slim chance of developing a quirk. It's a very slim to none chance, basically. It's around 1 in a million for Izuku to somehow develop a quirk later on. Nana Shimura, or Izuku's mother, would thank the doctor for testing Izuku, as she would pick up Izuku and walk out to their car, as they would then journey back into the mountains, as they would arrive back to their house a couple hours later, as Nana would sit Izuku down and look him square in the eyes. "It's alright, Izuku. Not everyone has a quirk. Doesn't mean you can't be a hero. Believe anybody can be a hero, even if they're quirkless or not." "Really, Mom?" Izuku would say, as he looks at his mom with eyes of hope, as if she isn't lying. He wants to see if she's really telling the truth, as Nana would then just smile right back at Izuku, as Izuku would hug his mother, just saying thank you, as Nana would then bring up a key point. You're gonna need to train to become a hero, though, Izuku. Everyone already has a head start on you in power because they've developed their quirks. But if we get you to train, you could possibly catch up to them. So, I'll start a training regimen for you. How's that sound, Izuku? Izuku would pump his fist up in the air saying, "Yeah, I'm ready. I'll become a hero, no matter what it takes." As Nana just sees Izuku punching the air as if he was fighting villain, as she would then tell Izuku that it's time to bed and that they need to go to sleep. Izuku would just smile brightly back at his mother, saying okay as he'd go to the bathroom, brush his teeth, and go to bed. Now, when he would wake up, his mother would give him a breakfast of cereal, as she would then tell him what they're going to be doing to start Izuku off easy. All she wants him to do is run around their house twice and do 3 push-ups in a row. If he can do that, they'll slowly over time build it up. Now, if you're wondering, that sounds such a small training regimen, I could do that in 3 minutes. Izuku is 4 years old, keep in mind that, and 4-year-olds don't really have the best of stamina and the best of mindset or temper. That's why you always see a 4-year-old throwing a tantrum in random places, because they are not the most developed person, physically and mentally. But over the next 10 years, Izuku would train to just become this hero. Now, Izuku, not growing up with friends, now, he wouldn't be a very socially shy person because he inherits some of his mother's attitude. However, he does become somewhat of a cold person, not really knowing how to make friends. He's never done it before and he's never experienced it. He's not shy, per se, because if he opened up to people like his mother, he would be just very happy. It's not like he's just cold or a jerk to anybody. Now, Izuku would keep training as Nana would train him for a certain set of things. Using the money she basically gained as a hero, she would buy Izuku different things to train with, including swords, knives, and even guns, which Izuku would all become a very good expert in those such fields, as Izuku would be very easily to use a katana or a sword, as that was basically his main weapon. He liked using katanas as he was very good with them, even going to such lengths as easily being able to cut a tree in clean half. Now, if you've ever tried that, you probably wouldn't get the blade even an inch into the trunk, especially if it's a very thick type of tree instead of it hollowing out because it's about to die. Now, when Izuku was 14, his mother would anonymously sign him up under the name Izuku Midoriya. Remember, Izuku's real name is Izuku Shimura. Now, if you're wondering, does Nana still have some of One For All? I'm going to say yes, she has a bit of One For All. I know that's kind of drifting away from canon, but I want to leave Nana with some type of quirk to defend herself. Sure, she has float, but I still want her to have a minor strength quirk left by One For All. Now, Izuku would go into the city 3 weeks before the UA entrance exam, just looking around, trying to scope out the area and see where he had to go to get to UA, just so he doesn't get lost before the entrance exam. Now, Izuku would end up hearing an explosion as he felt the ground shake. He would then run off to the such area where he heard and felt the explosion and vibrations happen. As he would arrive to a scene, 3 heroes struggling to keep back civilians while they were looking to find ways to defeat this sludge villain, capturing this blonde kid, as Izuku can see the blonde kid just sending out explosions as if trying to defeat the sludge villain. Now, Izuku, not having a license to carry around a katana, would have had to hide the katana. Now, Izuku and Nana, both being very smart people, knew Izuku was probably looked new to the area, meaning he was a target for robbers to rob a new person. So Izuku would of course bring weapons with him, of such his favorite being a katana. Don't ask me how he hid that katana in his clothes. He just did. Now, if you're wondering about Izuku's education either, yeah, he and his mother both trained in education and his smarts, as Nana didn't want him to be a one-sided person, all brawn and no brains, basically. She wanted Izuku to be 50-50, very smart and also very strong. Izuku would casually just walk up to the heroes, as the heroes would look at how calm Izuku was being, as he'd very easily jump the pedestrian rail to keep the pedestrians back, as he would slowly walk up to the sludge villain. The heroes would try to grab him, saying, "Kid, that's too dangerous, you'll die." Izuku would only look back at the heroes coldly, as one of the things he hates the most are heroes that don't do their job, heroes that are only heroes for money. He's kind of like Stain in a way. Izuku would walk up to the sludge villain, as he would then open up his coat, as he'd get out a long katana, as he would then look at the sludge villain, as the sludge villain would just as if be looking down at Izuku and estimating that he's going to be nothing compared to him, as the sludge villain would just be laughing. "Oh, you think you can cut me with that blade? Impossible." Only to have Izuku just wind back his arm with the katana facing right towards the sludge villain, with the point shining, as the sludge villain's eyes would widen, saying, "What the hell are you about to do with that?" Izuku with one jab right at the sludge villain, and then reeling his arm back, would have stabbed out the sludge villain's eye, as the sludge villain would shriek in pain, as all of the heroes, news reporters, and civilians would just gasp in shock. What is this kid doing? As Izuku would then go for the other eye, stabbing it as well and yanking his arm back, as he would then have two eyes on his katana. He would then grab both of the eyes, drag them out and across the blade, as he would then throw them against the floor and step on them, crushing them, as a puddle of blood just goes around his foot, as everyone is just shocked at what Izuku's doing. As the news says, "What is this? A random kid, it looks like, is attacking the sludge villain." I'm sorry to interrupt this battle. It's time for an ad, and then we can get back into it. Sorry for the sudden ad break, but it's over now, so let's get back into this fight. Izuku stepping on the sludge villain's eyes, as they would just crush underneath his foot. The now blind sludge villain would just be flailing around without being able to see, as he has no sense of direction or way. Remember, no eyes. Izuku would then take the blade, as the heroes would try to yell at him, saying he's going to cut the pedestrian or child inside of the sludge villain. But to their surprise, Izuku would just bring the blade above his head and slash directly down, which would cut half of the sludge villain off, as Izuku would do that to the other side, leaving only the sludge part of where Bakugo was. This, of course, would make Izuku be able to grab Bakugo and yank him out, as he would then see the sludge villain, instead of rising again, just slop down and collectively go into a puddle, realizing that the sludge villain had died. Remember, the sludge villain had only one way of blood, and in order for the sludge villain to even live, he needed a heart. And that's why I believe his heart was in his eyes. Now, a human can only live a certain amount of time without the blood pumping. So, the sludge villain, without any of its blood pumping to its eyes, would have easily just died. Now, Izuku would then look at the gasping Bakugo, who was gasping for air, as Izuku would just look at Bakugo, as he'd say, "It was dangerous of you. If you ever have that happen again, I suggest just letting the heroes do something. Sure, I'm being a hypocrite, but you shouldn't have been using your quirk. Just made everything worse. Look at that." Izuku would gesture towards the buildings, as he would then point at people using the fire escape. "You caused that apartment building to burn down. You could have seriously injured somebody. Suggest not doing that again." As Izuku would walk past the heroes as they try to stop him, grabbing his shoulder, saying, "Kid, what the hell were you thinking? That was dangerous of you. You could have died." Izuku would only glare back at them as he'd say, "Could have died how? I didn't see you lot doing anything, so I decided to take the matters into my own hands, per se. And that's why I saved that kid. Now I suggest go helping them. There's only one thing I hate more in this world, are heroes that do it for money." Izuku would then just walk away as the Skelly Mite, or Small Mite, would see what Izuku did, as Izuku would be walking back to his house after scoping the area out, as All Might would then jump down right in front of Izuku, as Izuku would jump back, reeling out his sword in a defensive position, as he would then just casually go down as you say, "Whoa, All Might, don't jump on me like that, I could have cut you in half." As All Might would then just laugh as he'd say, "I'm sorry, what's your name?" Izuku would then say, "My name is Izuku Midoriya," as All Might would then say, "Young Midoriya, what you did back there." Izuku would interrupt All Might saying, I know, it was dangerous and I could have died." All Might would just counter that saying, "Yes, that is true, but it was an amazing act of bravery. That's why I deem you worthy of my quirk." Izuku's mind would just blank saying, "Quirk? Wow, wait, that makes no sense. How can you transfer quirks from one another?" All Might would then just laugh awkwardly as he say, "It's a long story. Do you mind inviting me to your house?" Izuku would then just look at All Might as he'd say, "Sure, let me call my mom." Izuku would then get out his phone as he'd dial his mom's number, as he would then hear her pick up the phone. So he'd say, "Izuku, how's it going?" He says, "Yeah, All Might says he wants to come to our house. Is that fine?" Over the phone, he would then hear Nana say, "All Might, what? Sure, he can come to our house. Just, sure." Izuku would hang up as it's give the green light to All Might, as All Might would then say, "How long is it from here?" Izuku would just look at him and say, "It's about an hour walk, 30-minute run, I'd say, but it's quite far out from the city, I'd say." All Might would then just say, "Okay, here, hop on my back." As All Might would jump off, Izuku would just point All Might in the directed area as they would arrive at a log cabin in the woods. All Might would then knock on the door as Nana would greet them, to which All Might would then just look on in shock as he'd say, "Nana, what? I thought you died." As Nana would just calmly sigh as she would say, "About that. Faked my death to go raise Izuku. I didn't want him growing up in the whole hero thing, and the whole famous thing, so I just wanted to raise him out peacefully." All Might would, of course, just say, "Oh, okay, but why wouldn't you tell me this? You're my mentor." Nana then would just look at All Might saying, "I made sure nobody knew, so nobody would spill the truth about where I was. Didn't want All for One coming after me and canceling the next generation or my son, Izuku." They would sit down over a glass of tea as Nana would then say, Izuku proved himself worthy of getting your quirk, huh? Wow, I guess it runs in the family, I guess. All Might would just laugh awkwardly and say, I guess it does for you all. All Might would then say, so I'm guessing you trained the boy, huh? Nana would nod as All Might would ask Izuku how regular he trains. He says he trains most days of the week. All Might would then just poke a hair out or pluck a hair out of his head as he'd just look down at Izuku and say, eat this and you will become the next #1 hero, gaining my quirk. Izuku would just look at it as he would look at his mom, to which she would nod and say, that's how I got One for All, and that's how All Might did. So just eat it. Izuku would grab the hair and shakily eat it, as he would then suddenly feel some jolt of power, but not much. All Might would then just tell Izuku to wait before the hair digests, and then One for All will probably go to his body and give him the quirk. And that's where I'm going to leave it off, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy What If Deku was the son of Nana, this sort of anime what if discussion. I hope you guys did enjoy it. Thank you all for watching once again, and goodbye.